Hey guys, welcome back to Crazy Treasures. I hope everyone is having a good day today. I have been dying to share this story with you guys, and it's the birth story of Scarlett. I recently shared with you guys my ectopic pregnancies, so I thought I'd share my birth story with you. I don't think I ever really touched major base on my birth story with Scarlett, so I thought it would be fun to go ahead and do that along with anybody that is new to my channel. This will be the first time you guys are hearing it, so I'm really excited to tell you guys everything that happened when I was pregnant. So I've had 2 ectopic pregnancies, as everyone knows at this point now. And then, of course, I finally get pregnant and I have Scarlett. So let's go back to 2017. And I was really excited when I found out the symptoms before. I knew right away that I was pregnant with Scarlett. So how I knew was waking up, and I stood up in my bed, and then I became really dizzy. And I was like, oh my gosh, I am pregnant. At the time, I was dating her dad. He wasn't home, he was working. And I was like, I'm freaking pregnant. Like, I know I'm pregnant. So I was like, I need to go take a pregnancy test. So this was roughly, I want to say, mid-March. And at the time, I had a roommate. He was like a brother to me. His name was Tristan. I was like, hey, like, I think I'm pregnant. Like, can you please come with me to the store and get a pregnancy test? I'm super nervous, but I'm also excited. He was like, oh my gosh, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to go to the store, get a pregnancy test, and then go from there. So I take the pregnancy test, and sure enough, it said it was positive. And then I showed Tristan, and I just remember him being like so excited for me. And then he asked me, he was like, oh my gosh, like, how do you think he's going to react? Do you think he's going to be happy? And I was like, yeah, like, absolutely. I'm so excited. I can't wait to tell him. Like, it was literally killing me inside, and I just wanted him to be home already. And so next thing you know, I was like, ooh, like, help me think of an idea. I want to make it really cute. His favorite color was blue. So I got a blue box, and I got blue pacifiers, and I put it in a box. Let me show you the picture real quick. So, of course, I took a picture of it. Oh, yes. The pacifiers were actually green from this picture, and it was just really cute. Let me show you. So here was the pregnancy test, the first ever pregnancy test. I was looking up cute ways on what to say. I just wanted to make it like this really big thing. And so I ended up writing in the box. It has a to and from, and then it says, my love. And it said, from your one and only. And because I didn't have enough room to write on the box, I had to write on the side, but in between, so it's probably kind of confusing to read. But it says, hey, Daddy, I can't wait to meet you. And it says, to my love, from your one and only. And at the time, I was getting into filming everything, making memories, pulling out the phone and making videos, taking more pictures. So what I did, I remember he was coming home off work. I already had made this for him. As you can see, it was in a little box. I set up my phone, and we were living in a 2-story house, and I forgot what I set it on. I think it was a piano or something, but I set it in there, and I made sure it was angled a certain way, so when he opened the front door, over to the right side of you, there was this couch that we had. That's where I wanted to tell him. And I don't know if I might show like a little clip, but I'm not sure. But I remember talking to Tristan, and he was helping me setting it all up and everything. And I was getting really nervous, and then he finally came home from work, and he walks into the kitchen, and all 3 of us are just talking and having a good time. And then I just remember like, hey, there's something like I want to tell you. And I said it in a way like, hey, I have a surprise for you, because him and I both have birthdays in March, so his birthday comes before mine. I just played it cool, sort of, and I was like, hey, I have a surprise for you. And he was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, here, like, follow me. I pull him into that living room by the front door, and he kind of looks at the camera, and he was just like, why is the camera on? And I was like, oh, like, I just want to start filming more and making more memories type of thing. That's all. And I was like, oh, you know, your birthday's coming up and my birthday's coming up, so I just wanted to do a surprise for you. And he was like, oh, okay. So I pulled out this box. He opens it. The box kind of like came apart, and so like I flipped it open because it showed the pregnancy test before the actual words. And so I flipped it open for him. We looked at each other and he was just like, oh my gosh. He's like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. And he put it down to the side and he gave me the biggest and longest hug ever. And I remember just instantly crying. So that was that. So let's fast forward to going into labor. I was working up until pretty much I was in labor. I worked every single day. And it was Thursday, and I was like, hey boss, like I think I'm gonna make this the last day. And he said, no worries. I honestly wanted to work up into like it was time until like my water broke. I loved working where I was working, and I was surrounded by so many great people, and everyone at work would always make jokes of saying that I'm going to like have my baby there and we got you, we have towels in the back and blah 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 blah. So here we are, and it is a movie night that I'm having. And at the time I lived in Ahwatukee, Arizona. For anyone that knows where that's at or knows Arizona, that's where I lived. I lived there for a little bit. I was having some major pain, and I remember a couple of days before this day, I went to my doctor's and they stripped my membrane. So we were just chilling. I just didn't think anything of it. We were specifically watching Boss Baby, and I'll never forget, we were just chilling on our couch, and, you know, being pregnant, I always had to go to the bathroom and go pee. And then I remember sitting at the edge of our couch, and I was sitting so close and just going, ooh, ah. And then I'm like, I'll be right back. Like, I have to go to the bathroom. Hi. And I noticed that I was bleeding like a little bit, but I didn't think anything of it. I remember calling my mom and I was like, hey, like this is what's going on, yada, yada, yada. And she was like, hey, let's just go to the doctor's tomorrow and just see what the doctor says. And I was like, okay. So now it's the next day, and I head over to the hospital with my mom. I believe it was around afternoon time. My mom comes over to the apartment, and I brought an emergency bag just in case. And we head over to the hospital. And I don't remember how dilated I was, but they definitely wanted to keep me. And they got me into a room. And I remember briefly, my mom was in there with me, and we were talking to the nurse, and she wanted to break my water. And I was like, okay. And she leaves out of the room. And when she left, maybe a few minutes go by, and then I'm laying in bed, and I kid you not, you guys, I really did feel like I was in the movies when my water broke. It just went poof, and I just felt it just like wet the whole bed, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just like the movies. And then within seconds, I had the worst contractions ever. Like they just hit so hard. And I remember it's like, oh, well, looks like we should go get the nurse. And she got the nurse, and she was like, wow. And next thing you know, they put me in a different room, and then everything got started. I called her dad and told him what was going on, and he wanted to keep working until it was almost time for her to come out. And I was like, okay. So I was there with my mom. I remember doing like a live video on my Facebook to just keep all my friends and family informed of what was going on. And I remember I'm like, is it even on? And I was already like live, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, hey guys. So a little bit of time goes by, and it was time to do the epidural. And I remember them putting the epidural in my back and taking like deep breaths and yada, yada, yada. And of course they explained everything with the epidural. Now it's time to get to pushing, and I was really excited. And man, the medicine that they had me on, I felt like I was floating. I was like on cloud 9. So her dad finally shows up to the room and everything. Was getting really close for Scarlett to come. And man, I felt like the whole time I was in there, I was pushing every so often. Push, 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 push. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I felt so exhausted. I remember telling him, hey, I am in so much pain. Like, I don't know if I can keep pushing type of thing. And he was just like, I wonder if your epidural, the needle came out of your back. And so he grabs the nurse and he's like, do you by chance think that, you know, the epidural came out of her back? And she was like, most likely not, but we can definitely check. And so they checked. She said, oh my gosh, you are so right. And so I had to take a quick little break and they put the epidural back in my back. And then I got back to pushing. They allowed me to rest for maybe, I can't remember. But it was not very long of a rest. And then they woke me back up and I had to go back to pushing. I was exhausted, you guys. I felt like I was in labor for so long. And Scarlett just did not want to come out. She wanted to stay in. I remember at one point they had me try like so many different things. There was like a bar, this rope or something, like just so many different things to help me like push and pull, and she just did not want to budge at all. And the last thing that they tried, they're like, okay, well, let's try this. And if this doesn't work, then we're going to have to, my doctor said this. She was like, then we're going to have to do a C-section. And I was like, nope, absolutely not. We're going to push her out type of thing. And I can do this. I can do this. They pulled out a mirror to where I can see myself down there. And I was like, oh, okay. Sure enough, that helped. And I pushed and I pushed. It was like 3 more pushes. And then boom, here we are. Scarlett is born. And she was 7 pounds and 12 ounces. She was literally 8 pounds. And I remember that I was 8 pounds. I think I was like literally almost a 9-pound baby. But all that pushing and finally seeing that I could see her come out. I saw her head and everything. I was like, oh my goodness. She was born at 6 a.m., 6:11 a.m. on November 4th, 2017. And I was so happy and excited and I cried. And I remember the first time that they allowed me to put her on my chest and just get that mother bond with my newborn child. And I was just so in love. Once I got some time to myself, the family came. I have a couple pictures I might show towards the end. I believe, obviously my dad was there. Hannah, Ariana, Max, and Jake. I feel that was all that we had in the house at the time. I don't know if Alex came. I don't think he did. Yeah, and I took a bunch of pictures. I know my mom took a bunch of pictures, and I will never forget that my mom also at the time was like, I was like, I can't believe she said this. She was like, this is the worst labor I've ever seen. And I was like, oh my gosh. And what went through my mind was also the fact that I was like, oh my gosh, like my mom really saw everything down there. And I was just like, this is so natural. And the fact that I've also seen my mom give labor like 3 times. So I'm just like, now it's reversed Uno. Man, I was so exhausted too, and I was so happy that she finally came out, and unfortunately I had to get some stitches down there, but everything played out fine, and I was so ready to eat, and I forgot what was my first food, like after pregnancy. What was your first food after pregnancy? I'm curious. I was like, I just want a big, fat, juicy burger. And it was so good. I'm pretty sure it was a burger. I should have said sushi. I got to take her home and I was really excited. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mom. And every little thing. I knew after the hospital that she had to go back. And then they gave us a light because she had jaundice. that stressed me out. Being a first-time mom, you want everything to go right with your pregnancy, and so even that just made me like a super emotional wreck, and your hormones are already off the charts. So, but that is the birth story of my lovely daughter Scarlett, and it was a crazy time. But now she is 6. She is 6. I really enjoyed sharing this story with you guys. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I want to know your guys' birth stories. What were your guys' complications? So, yes. I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.